In this video, I want to talk about 10 ways that my life improved after I stopped drinking. I'm not talking about little improvements, I'm talking about massive improvements here. I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I wanted to talk about just some of the big ways that my life has improved since I quit drinking. 10 ways in fact. So I'll start off with the most obvious one of all, and that's that I'm saving a shitload of money since I stopped. I mean, it's really obvious, this one, you know. It's the amount of money that I was spending on alcohol was just ridiculous. I think at one stage a friend and I worked it out that we were probably, between the pair of us, putting about €1,000 across the one bar counter every month. That's drink and food, but we were having an argument about how badly we were being treated at the time, and we started working it out. So, you know, €250 a piece, 125, I can well believe that, you know, if not more. You know, and the things that I can actually do now with that money, you know, that adds up to a lot of money. I'm talking about maybe $6,000 a year, something like that, in that region. What I can do, especially with my now unintoxicated brain, you know, it's just staggering. And number two, another obvious one, is time. You know, time is absolutely our most precious commodity. When you're drinking, you use up a lot of time just on either thinking about the drinking, you know, just in that getting ready for drinking, thinking about, you know, the pre-drinking sort of thing, pre-drinking thinking, when you're thinking about the weekend when you're going to go to the party, or down to the pub, or to the match, or whatever it is. Thinking about the evening, getting home and sitting down and popping open that first bottle of wine, or cracking open that first can of beer. You've got that pre-thinking, then you've got the actual time that you spend in the process of drinking, putting the stuff into your body, and then you've got the obvious consequences when your body has to overcome all the poisoning, and you're in this sort of a time warp. You know, you're like a time freeze sort of a thing, where you just can't do anything else. You know, I don't know how much time I've wasted over my years, but you know, that's all in the past. The past is the past. You can't do anything about it. All you've got is the present, and at the present moment, and in every future moment, I know that my time is not going to be wasted on that shite. So, number three is health. So, you know, it's another obvious one, but according to a lot of people, and according to a lot of drinkers and specialists, there is health benefits to drinking in small amounts, and I don't believe those benefits at all, because of the negative effects that alcohol is a drug, right? And you've got tolerance. Once you've got that tolerance in the mixture, then your body can overcome the immediate intoxication. You know, it can deal with that with small amounts of alcohol, but once you start using alcohol, your body begins to tolerate it, and you need more alcohol to get you to the same level. So the health benefits that people are propagating, you know, scientists, mostly drug companies, I mean, that are propagating these theories, they are only theories, and they're very sketchy, and they're based on statistical evidence which can be bent to whatever. Anyway, my own personal health issues when I was drinking were my stomach and digestive system were shagged up for a lot of years. You know, I mean, if I went out on a walk like this when I was drinking, I'd just have pure pain in my stomach with all the carbonated drinks that I was drinking. Obviously a weight problem because of all the alcohol that I was consuming. You know, when you can't drink as many pints as I was drinking and not start getting health issues, especially once the exercise starts laxing and all that kind of stuff. Sleep issues, so never getting the proper sleep because always in this fight mode underneath it all. You know, your body's in this fighting for your life while you're asleep. So how can you be getting a great sleep and getting all the REM rest that you need when your body is at the same time in an alarm state underneath it all? So you know, you don't actually realize how bad your health is getting until it's got bad, you know, until way into your life, because the damage is very gradual. You know, your body, as I say, is this fantastic piece of equipment, and it's there to keep you alive, and it's very good at trying to minimize the damage. So because the damage is gradual, you don't really get a grip on how bad you're actually being damaged until you feel it. So although it's a gradual deterioration in the one direction, as you're drinking, you'll start to feel the benefits almost immediately when you stop drinking. You know, I mean, you're obviously going to have to go through that one final hangover, so you're going to have to go through that series of whatever your body's going to take you through to get rid of the alcohol in your body and to go through that last piece of the cycle. Then your body is going to start renewing and regenerating and making you feel good. I mean, I feel great now. Another aspect of this is that, you know, as I said earlier, your body is there, it's designed to help you, to give you warning signs about everything, right? So to keep your body in a balance. So now that I don't drink anymore, when if I don't get out and exercise, then I feel the consequences. I feel weird. I feel a strange feeling inside when I don't eat the right types of food. When I eat crap food, I feel it straight away. I feel how my body's reacting to it. When I don't get enough water in my system, I feel it straight away. When I'm not exercising my brain cells enough, I start to feel it. So that's your body telling you that, you know, the balance is shifting one way or the other, right? It's that you need to stop eating the crap food, that you need to get more water, that you need to go out and get more exercise. The opposite end of the scale, that you need to back off from the exercise. You're getting too much and you're putting too much of a strain on your body. And they're things that your body, that are hidden from you, right? Once you, when you're drinking alcohol, because alcohol is such an insidious thing. It floods everything else. You know, when you're feeling either the cravings for alcohol or the consequences of you drinking alcohol, or while you're actually drunk, you know, what's your body feeling? It's not feeling anything. So, you know, a lot of the time that's what people want. They don't want to feel anything, so they get pissed and are drunk, and they don't have to feel that anymore. So number 4 is that I feel like I've got a lot more control over things, over my life in general, than I had before. I remember when I used to drink, and there'd be always that sort of thing about controlling the alcohol, trying to control it, right? So I try and moderate it at times. So instead of going to the pub 4 times a week, I try and go only twice a week, or I'd only have enough alcohol for a certain amount in the house, so I wouldn't be able to drink anymore. And then at other times I'd be sort of thinking, well, am I going to run out of drink? So I'd stock up in the house to make sure that I wouldn't run out of drink, and then I'd be drinking more than I'd want to drink, more than I intended to drink in the first place, or maybe that was just in the back of my mind all along, that I wanted to get that drunk and the intention was to get drunk. So yeah, to hell with it. Make sure you have enough in the house, you know yourself well enough to know that if there are 2 bottles of wine in the house or 3 bottles of wine in the house, then I'm gonna fucking drink the stuff, Another lack of control was in the area of food. So as soon as I was drinking or when I was drunk, I'd eat the most god-awful types of stuff, stuff that you get in fast food restaurants. This is not really food at all. And then when I was hungover, feeling sorry for myself because I'd poisoned myself all night, I'd be eating loads of comfort food, and that was basically the same crap, I'd go down and buy boxes of biscuits and just all sorts of crap. I don't even want to think about half the stuff that I put into myself, and that's not just a problem then of putting on weight, but it's you just add in insult to injury with your nutrition levels. God, awful, terrible. When I think about that, it makes me laugh at one degree, but makes me sad to another degree. But all you can do is laugh, really, There were other things that I lacked control of, plans that I'd make and then break, never fulfilling any of these things. And then there was driving. My lack of control on that was lethal. Hopping into the car after I'd had a few pints was very bad. But I can't remember the last time now I've got into a car and had even to think about that kind of stuff. I can't remember any time in the last while that I've had a plan that's just been gone. Yeah, I can't be bothered doing it. I've had plans that I've sort of altered a little bit and sort of looked at and thought, well, I don't really want to do it in that way, but I've changed it in some way. It's much different to what I was doing in the past. In the past, I used to just go, yeah, I can't do that, Deadlines would go by and just things never got done. My brain would be that fogged that I couldn't think about stuff. So anyway, all that's changed, more control now. Number 5 is sort of related to number 4 in that I don't have that constant bug in the back of my mind that is telling me that what I'm doing is wrong, that is screaming at me to stop fucking doing this to yourself, to your own body, and to your mind, to your life, to the people around you. I don't think like that anymore. I also don't have that feeling of missing out on something all the time. Fear of missing out, FOMO. In the beginning you get that a lot because you're trying to withdraw yourself from this whole alcoholic storm that you've been involved in for God knows how many years. For me, for 30 years. That's the only way I can describe it, is just like lifestyle choices that are create havoc, and it takes a while to extricate yourself from that whole thing, and to change the way that you socialize, to change the way that you relax, to change all those things that mean an overall lifestyle change, right? So in the beginning, there is always going to be that big fear that you're missing out on something, and it's just bullshit. I mean, it doesn't exist. When you start looking at drinkers from the perspective of a non-drinker, when you start seeing people and how they behave and how they act, not only as they're going into the shops and they're buying their booze. You know, take a look at people like that, stood in front of the wine store and pretending that they're making these serious choices about this rotten grape juice. Watch them when they're drunk, and how obnoxious and boring people can be. Some of the shite that comes out of people's mouths when they're drunk, and then look at people afterwards, you know, when they're in the hangover and they're dying. Once you start getting a grip on that, you realise that you're missing out on nothing, on absolutely nothing. So, you know, that thing at the back of my head is well and truly gone now. You know, that bug that I know I'm doing something wrong with myself, so that's good. You know, it's such a relief to know that I don't have to go through this anymore, that I've won that particular mental game, that I don't have to think about the consequences of my hangover, think about the hangovers every morning, think about how much alcohol I've got in the house, how much alcohol I'm going to drink tonight. You know, think about any of that stuff, any of the consequences, any of the embarrassment of it all, not just the drinking, but being a drinker and being an asshole when I'm a drinker, whatever that means, whatever that meant. And number six is something that I've spoken about a lot. One of my symptoms, side effects, whatever you want to call it, one of the discomforts that I had after I stopped drinking was that I didn't sleep well for about a month, or it took me a month to get into a decent sleep cycle. But I also never had a decent sleep cycle when I was drinking, right? You know, it's just impossible. As I said earlier, your body is just going through too much turmoil to seriously expect decent sleep. So that's one of the best things, is that you know, for the last 3 years since I stopped, I'm getting great sleeps. You know, I go through the whole sleep cycle. Not only do I sleep well, my brain is functioning better during the day. My body is functioning better during the day. And when I get to bed at night, I naturally feel tired and I naturally want to fall asleep. You know, it wasn't like before where you had to have a drink almost every night in order to get to sleep. I mean, how ridiculous. You know, if people don't think that they're drug addicts, yet they still need to have a pill to put them to sleep at night, you know, there's something wrong with that, definitely. So I don't need any of that crap anymore. I sleep very well, thank you very much. So number 7 is some of the environmental changes that I've made in my life. I mean, before I stopped drinking, when I was drinking, my life basically revolved around alcohol, because alcohol was a definite part of whatever it is I was doing, you know. I'll talk about my social circle in a while, but the environment is, you know, has a big impact on you psychologically, right? So everything that I did was basically sitting in the bar, chinwagging, putting the world to rights with other people who were doing the same thing that I was doing, you know. And that's, you know, from a psychological perspective, that just encourages you, even though might not be up front that this is encouragement. It's there, you know. It's you know, the when you actually go into a bar and you watch people drinking now, and you see how they are, it's just boring. So that's a big thing that's changed, is, you know, because I don't do that anymore, because I go in and I'm focused on, if I go into a bar, I'm focused on the match, watch a match, and I'm focused on the match, and then once the match is over, I leave. So there's no time for boredom, and I am mixing with drinkers, but it's a sort of a more eclectic mix, because there are different people. You know, most people are there to watch the football, and most people will leave as soon as the football is finished, and they'll go on and do other things, right? You know, time is precious. Somewhat related to that, number 8 is that I've changed my social circle. So, and that's a massive change in influence. It's a massive influence in how you move forward with your life. You know, they say that you can judge a person by the 5 closest people that they surround themselves with. That's definitely true. You know, if all my mates before were drinkers, none of my mates are drinkers now. None of them. You know, they drink. For the most part, I've one non-drinker, doesn't drink most of the time. But none of them are heavy drinkers, and none of their lives revolve around drinking. You know, just that whole atmosphere in the pub, from a psychological point of view, you know, you're surrounding yourself by people who are knocking back booze, just talking crap, beer bellies everywhere. Whereas now I go out walking, I've just started back doing yoga. I still go to restaurants, but I tend to, it's just me and Esther, you know, and we enjoy, relax and just chill out, you know. But it's a different psychological direction that each one is leading me to. You know, if you're surrounded by people who like to drink, people who see no problems with putting on loads of weight because they're drinking, you know, guess what that's going to do to your mind. Whereas if you're surrounded by people who are interested in getting fit and staying fit, keeping healthy, eating the right types of foods, extending their knowledge and their brains, that's what you're going to do as well. You know, I'm still not there 100%. I still have a long way to go to find the things that I want to do in my life, to find other activities. I'm only really 3 sort of years into this, so a lot of that time I've been spending doing this, you know, doing figuring out. The 9th thing that's changed is just my relationships. My relationships with other people are just blossomed since I stopped drinking. You know, in terms of whatever way you want to look at it. You know, in terms of trust, definitely people trust me more. In terms of balance, there's more of a give and take nature. Whereas when you're abusing any drug, when you're using any drug, it tends to be a one-sided sort of a thing, or a lopsided sort of a thing, where you get a lot of people trying to give you stuff where, you know, all your relationships are dodgy. You know, when, let's say, take 5 people, the closest 5 people to you, and you'll understand somebody, you'll know somebody, who they are. And I had great affection for a lot of my drinking buddies, who I thought were my friends, and really, when I think about it now, they were more acquaintances. You know, they were enablers. I hate that word, but because it's so mixed up in the alcoholic literature and bullshit, you know. But you know, they were more like co-conspirators than anything else. You know, they were doing this, and we had this tacit agreement, sort of, not to say anything to each other, and not to criticize each other about what we were doing, because we were all doing the same thing, right? And that's no good. And finally, number 10 is I've rewritten who I am, right? Before I quit drinking, I was a mess. You know, I was insecure, I was volatile, just a pure mess. And everything that I did, everything that I tried to do in my life was just eventually got, either the plans didn't get done, or they were watered down versions of what could have been, right? And it was always, should have done this, could have done this and would have done this if only I'd have done that, right? You know, I was basically just living a watered down version of my life. By changing that one thing in my life, by eliminating that one element from the equation, everything else changed with it. Everything else. You know, it's a gradual process, but everything else has to change because the alcohol habit is supporting a lot of other bad habits as well. And once you take that one umbrella habit out of the equation, you know, that one foundational habit, then there's a lot of other things that need to change, that have to change, and that you will definitely want to change once you stop drinking, right? And you know, I began liking myself. You know, from those first early days, I started to like the effects and like what I was seeing for the first time in a long time. Oh, it's a pigeon. Oh shit. You know, I also began to like myself. I like who I was becoming. Like I said, you know, earlier on, I had this nagging feeling all the time, nagging thoughts all the time in the back of my mind that what I was doing was just wrong. That the person I was, that I had become, was just not who I wanted to be, you know. And that's all changed. You know, I really like the direction that I'm taking. I like the way I feel about myself now. You know, and it's not. It takes a long time before you can ungrip yourself from this alcoholic lifestyle, right? From everything that you've been doing. You know, it has its tendrils in all different aspects of your life. So it takes a long time before you can pull those holds away and start to plant your new lifestyle, right? And that's tough sometimes. You know, it's not easy because, you know, a lot of these things, if you've been drinking alcohol for a long time, then, you know, those roots are going to be fairly deep. So you've got to do them, but it's a gradual process. Like I keep saying, it's one day at a time. You just follow through. You do one change at a time, and you do it in small increments. You know, change is going to happen. Change happens on a personal level from moment to moment, right? It happens whether you like it or not. Change happens in everything around you from in a moment by moment basis, right? So all the time change is happening everywhere. You know, and it's impossible to take the reins of that change and to guide it where you want it to go if you've got something so destructive and so unpredictable as alcohol in your life. Once you get alcohol out of your life, you're going to improve vastly, right? You will be able to take the reins of that change and, you know, guide your life in the direction that you want it to go. So give us a thumbs up, a click if you like that video, if that's your thing. Leave a comment down below. Come over to the website and leave a comment there. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Onwards and upwards.